Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on Gran Turismo 7. I'm back with a track guide for this week's current daily race C at Kyoto in Group 4, and we are using the McLaren for the track guide for the time trial, and this will hopefully help you out in the race conditions as well and hopefully get you some DR improvements. So yeah, if you do enjoy these videos, make sure you take the time to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, let me know in the comment section if it does help you out. I do like reading them comments, so we're going to try and get you as quick as possible and try and give you a few pointers with the track limits, especially on this track. So let's get on with this guide and show you how I managed to get a 39.6, a 1 minute 39.6. So starting your lap, try and give yourself a reasonably good exit off this final corner to carry reasonable speed down this straight. Now, you're going to be looking for the 100 board on your right hand side. Now, remember to always short shift this car around 60%, 70% shift. It's the fastest way to do it. We're going to look for the 100 board and we're going to brake just past it. And you're almost going to brake just before this pole on the right hand side. You can see it there. So we're going to slow the car down. A little bit of trail braking is going to kick in a minute, but we want to get this car rotated in quite narrow into this apex and then get on that throttle and get it rotated. So you can see trail braking, rotating the car down to second gear, then back up to third gear, left hand tyre up onto the curb, and then accelerating aggressive out of this corner. If you need to use a bit of the curb on the right, you can do so. And now we're going into this next tricky corner where it's all about exploiting the track limits. You really need to be sending it over this chicane. So as we come up to the 50 board on the left there, we're going to brake just short of that 50 board. Now what you're going to see here is we're going to start turning in very early into this corner, a lot earlier than what you would plan to do really, because we're going to jump over the curb. So watch the line we all take through here. Left hand tyre, just keep the left hand tyre on that grey bit of tarmac and you should be good for track limits. A little lift off the throttle as we go over the curb and then back onto the throttle when we land, just to make sure the car's nice and stable through there. And now your right hand tyre needs to stay on the right hand side of that white line. If you manage that, no penalties at all. Next braking zone, we're looking for the 50 board on the left hand side and the start of the curb. You're going to brake pretty much dead on the start of that curb. So as we approach it now, you're going to see there onto the brakes, and now we're going to slow that car down quite aggressively through the gears. We're going to get it down to second gear, and what you're going to do is trail brake in, and then you want to try and get on the power really early into this corner. So you can see that nice line to give us a good exit speed, and then let the car rotate with the trail braking, and then off the brakes, onto the throttle, let that car rotate. Now this car's got so much traction. Do nearly lose the rear slightly there, maybe lost me half a tenth on the acceleration out of that corner. But yeah, you've got a lot of traction with the McLaren, so you can be very aggressive with your throttle. Now into this very tricky section, I'm just going to use that little board on the left, the little Marshall's place on the left there, as a rough guide of where we're going to brake. So you can see onto the brakes just before an imaginary line, and now you're going to let this car just roll onto the right hand side, get the right hand tyre up onto the curb, and then again attack these curbs. Your right hand tyre just needs to stay off the grass. If the right hand tyre stays off the grass, you should be good pretty much for not getting a penalty. Then again, left hand tyre, keep it on the grey bit of tarmac, and again you should be good for no penalty through there. And it's all about getting on that throttle as aggressively as you can and carrying momentum out of this hill, because you get out of that corner, because you're then going uphill, which you need the momentum into this next right hand corner. And this is a really fast right hand corner. This is the tyre killer, the corner that destroys your tyres in the race. So into this corner, just before the 50 board, you can see we're going to chuck that car in, and we're going to aim to get it quite narrow into this corner on the left. You can see dab of brakes just before the end of the curb. Now this isn't aggressive braking, this is just a tiny bit of braking just to get the weight transfer onto the front of the car to give you more balance towards the front to carry more speed. Using the curb, you notice how I keep the car up on the curb there, and that enables me to carry a massive amount of speed and keep that throttle down all the way up into the next corners. So again, this is completely flat. You're going to give it a little bit of a lift off the throttle. So keep your eye on the throttle through this section. As you're coming through here, left-hand tyre up onto the grey bit of tarmac again. And then just as we come off of this curb, you're going to see we're just going to lift off the throttle. Now that is to purely put a bit of weight back onto the front of the car and give us the ability to get the right-hand tyre up onto this curb. So again, right-hand tyre up onto the grey bit, and then accelerate through the corner, and then again little lift as we come off the curb, again to get that weight transfer onto the car so that we can take this next left hand corner and get that left hand tyre up onto this curb. So again, using the curbs as much as possible, completely flat now. You try not to run wide there onto the grass, and then into the next reference. We're using the 50 board as a reference. I turn in a little bit early here. Probably would have been better to taking a slightly wider line and carrying a bit more speed and then trying to square the car off a bit. But you can see a little bit of braking input going in here. Again, not aggressive on them brakes. It's just about 50%, 60%, letting that trail braking kick in and then trying to hold the car towards the curb. You can see letting the car build the grip up and then waiting patiently for that throttle. You can see me playing with that throttle a little bit and then upshift to 5th on the exit. As you're coming out the corner, we're going to go into 5th gear just as we're on the curb, and now it's all the way to the finish line. Now I didn't change gear here. I don't know which is faster. I just kept it revving because we were too close to the finishing line. I don't think we really gained or lost anything with that, but you might want to shift, you might want to change gear. And we go over the line for a 1:39.6. So let's watch that lap again from the chase camera, and you can see into the braking point, nice and early into this corner, onto that throttle and then into 3rd gear, and then into the next braking reference. We're going to use that 50 board on the left hand side there, braking just before it. Now watch the track limits, so important. As long as your tyre stays on the curb on that corner, you're okay for the track limits. You will not get a penalty. Again, for the next chicane in a bit, it's a pretty similar story. So again, as we come through this right hand corner, it's all about getting the exit off that corner and getting good momentum. And now you're going to see the track limits through this section. Again, use the curbs. It's all about aggressive curb usage on this track to find the pace. So you can see letting the car just get up onto the apex and then over the curb. Again, over the curb on the other side. And again, as long as that left-hand tyre doesn't go over the white line, you're not going to get over the curb, you're not going to get a penalty. So you can go over the white line, but as long as you don't get the left-hand tyre onto the grass, if you go on the grass, then you're probably going to get a penalty. And yeah, that's not what you want to do. But you can really exploit the limits through there and take advantage and carry a lot more momentum through them corners. Again, that corner using the curb on the right to get the right-hand tyre up on it helps you with grip through there. And then this is all about using that throttle just to rotate the car into the corners. A little lift off the throttle. Again, gets that rotation going. And then into that final corner. I turned in a little bit early. You can actually see how early I turned in there. Maybe could have been a fraction later. And took a slightly wider line and gained about a 10th or 2 on the exit. Probably would have gained a 10th if I'd have got that corner right. But we didn't do it too badly. And then just let it rev out to the finish line. Hopefully this track guide will help you out. Let me know in the comment section if it does. Get subscribed to the channel and I'll be back with more of these along with the 2 million credit guides every single week. Take care everyone.